Good morning, friends and enemies. Happy July 4th. Happy Independence Day. Canada could never, you know what we can never do is miss a weekly mock draft throughout the summer. That's what today's video is. We're doing a 12-team full PPR mock draft for 2025 fantasy football. We did this last week, and I went very, very running back heavy from the number 1 pick. So if you want to watch that, I will link it down below in the show notes. Today, we're going to take a swing at the other side of the spectrum. Not completely tail end, but we want to go from the number 9 pick because I want to go wide receiver heavy in this draft. Or maybe not. I didn't do the draft yet, obviously, so maybe it plays out a little bit differently, but we're going to fill it up with people from the Discord. If you're not yet in the Discord, that's how you get into these mock drafts with me when I post them weekly. All right, so let's make some fireworks. As I said, I'm going to be picking from the 9 hole, and the reason I said I'm going in with a wide receiver heavy draft strategy is based on doing a bunch of mock drafts already up to this point. That's, you know, the section of the draft where you're getting your choice of just top tier, high-end wide receiver players, right? Whether it's Puka, whether it's Amon-Ra, Malik Neighbors, Nico, BTJ. Like, the combo of 2 of those players is just a beautiful thing. So we're going to kick the draft off. This is 30 seconds per pick. Sam is up at the 101. I don't think any of the top running backs will fall to me. You know, Bijan, Saquon, and Jahmyr Gibbs tend to be guys that go off the board in the first 5 or 6 picks. But realistically, man, I'd be kind of happy with any of the top wide receiver pairings falling to me. We'll see, though. Maybe they don't. Maybe BTJ, Nico, Puka all go before I get my second pick in. If that's the case, then I think I will be looking at a dude like maybe Genty. This is full PPR, so maybe Henry falls a little bit. I'm really, really enticed by Davante too. If he's my RB1, I'll be relatively happy and cheerful. So we have Jamar Chase, Bijan, Justin Jefferson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Saquon. Man, what a world we're living in where you can get Saquon at the 105. We just did, oh, that hurts. I was really hoping Puka fell to me. All right, so we have our pick really of you know, one of the top-end wide receivers, Amon-Ra, Malik, Nico, BTJ. For me, they're all kind of in a tier, so I won't really, like, you know, fret, toss and turn here about which one's which. I'm actually going to go with Malik, man. We just did an NFC East preview. We have an entire betting channel for BDGE that's just strictly looking at like betting lines, over-unders, team totals, things like that. I will link that down below if you guys are interested in getting more content that's more specific to that, where we look at like teams holistically more than just fantasy stuff. But we had a good friend of mine, Justin Pennick from John Boy Media, over to talk about the Giants, and a couple points he brought up was like Brian Daboll wants to throw the ball. He wants to be a pass-heavy offense. And I think, you know, the quarterback situation that he has now, while Russ is Russ, and he's not who he was, Russ does like to take deep shots. And that was something that Malik got some of last year, but not the way that Russ was chucking up moon balls to, to George Pickens, etc. And I think Malik can really thrive. When you look at his, like, target totals, all right, I'm really hoping Achane or BTJ falls back to me. I've got a bad feeling about this, though. There goes BTJ. Leave Achane for me. Leave Achane for me. Beautiful. Beautiful. We're going Achane there. Yeah, I mean, George Pickens just got a ton of those deep balls, and I think if Malik can really, like, sprinkle those into his game a bit more, he could be a dude who, I mean, he had 170 targets last year in 15 games as a rookie. When you start to look at his target numbers, like, every game, he had a couple that were, like, 8 targets, but it was, you know, 17, 14, 14, 13, 12, 14, 14. It's like, you give a dude with Malik Neighbors' talent level that sort of exposure to targets, and he's going to be a 1,600-yard receiver before long. So we got all the volume, and I think with a better quarterback under center, a little bit more stability for the offense, and you're going to see Malik Neighbors come into his own as one of the best receivers in the NFL, which he already was last year. But now, yeah, I think we're going to see another step up here. So I think we'll see a 1,610, probably, you know, 110 to 20 catches for Malik Neighbors. He's just so talented. We didn't really get to see a lot of what made him great in college with Jaden Daniels, which was Jaden Daniels has that beautiful deep ball, which Malik profited from. And Malik is also dynamite in the open field, like so good at taking slants to the house and just using that yards after catch ability, which I'm hoping we just kind of step into in year 2 and build the offense around that. They also didn't add any real pass catchers. Like, that's the other thing too, is you would think the way that this offense was set up that they felt like they needed a real wide receiver too. Wan'Dale's a slot merchant. Darius Slayton's fine as like a wide receiver 4-3 in an offense. But they didn't add any real target competition there for Malik Neighbors. So there's no reason to think that he won't get another 12 to 13 targets a game. And again, when you're that talented, you get Malik Neighbors, it's like, all bets are off in terms of what his ceiling is. So Malik there was great. Amon-Ra went, Derrick Henry, Nico, Brock Bowers, BTJ, C-Mac at the 2-3, and then I got Devon Achane at the 2-4. And to me, it kind of feels like there's a bit of a tier break there, especially in full PPR with Achane. You look at his insane target numbers last year. He was actually the Triple Crown winner in terms of running backs, which I didn't actually realize until I was reading an article from Hayden Winks this morning over at Underdog, who does great work. Led all running backs in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns last year. And now you have Jonnu Smith, who had 20% of the team's targets last year, which is really high for a tight end. A lot of those being line of scrimmage, a lot of those being manufactured design targets, which is what Achane was getting too. Now he's gone, all right? So Achane in Miami, he went from year one being an insane runner, 7.8 yards per carry, to an insane receiver in year two. And I would say their offense will likely look more like last year than it did the year before because of, again, I will just hammer this narrative into your skulls. Every defense plays cover 2-3-4 against Miami, and it's why they can't throw the ball deep anymore. And it's led to them having to dump off to Achane and Tyreek Hill and Jonnu Smith, which is great for Achane and his PPR status. With Jonnu out of the water here, I mean, Achane's ceiling is also, through the fucking roof. And they added 3 offensive linemen. They do lose Teron Armstead, which is a big loss. But hopefully their interior, their offensive line can get a little bit better. But we are almost back on the clock here. Wasted all my time yapping. Lamar goes off the board. If Lamar fell to me in round 3, I would have been super happy about that. Let's see. Honestly, wouldn't be too pissed about Jaden Daniels here because I also think there's a good chance if I grab Jaden Daniels, I could stack him with Terry McLaurin. Breece Hall goes off the board. Okay, since we start 3 wide receivers, I'm not like over the moon about JSN. I think he's a really good player, but I'm just like worried about investing into that offense. And right now, honestly, we've invested into 3 offenses if we take JSN, where I'm not like super confident that they present a huge fantasy ceiling. I'm going to take it anyways because I feel like he's a really good floor play. JSN had the year 2 breakout. We got no more DK. We got no more Tyler Lockett. I think JSN's a shoe-in for 150-ish targets. So obviously we are really heavily leaning into the PPR style of this league here. But yeah, with JSN, he's just a good player that's going to, again, soak up a million targets there in Seattle. After Achane, just to recap for all y'all that might be listening via podcast, Achane was at the 2-4 for me. We had A.J. Brown, Drake London, Bucky Irving, Lad McConkey, Terry. Wow, I didn't even realize I was talking about getting Jaden Daniels with Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin went at the 2-9 here. Josh Jacobs at the 2-10, T. Higgins, Trey McBride, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, Kyron, James Cook, Josh Allen, Chase Brown, Lamar Jackson at the 3-7, Breece Hall at the 3-8, and then I took JSN at the 3-9. Yeah, I'm really liking this start so far because I said I wanted to go wide receiver heavy, and I actually love the options that I still have left. Wanted to go Rashee Rice there, but he went off the board. Then Mike Evans would have probably been my second pick here. I still think I really like Davante Adams here. I will say if Puka had fallen to me at the 1-9, I easily would have taken him. And then I might have split the difference here in terms of wide receivers. But I'm a big fan of Davante Adams at the 4-4. When we look at Vegas lines, this is something that I have been referencing quite often throughout the offseason. Davante Adams has some of the highest lines relative to receivers getting picked around him. Let me get these stats up for y'all. Regular season stats. Adams is up at 975.5. Actually, let me minimize myself a bit just to lock in here, y'all. Davante Adams at 975. You have guys like T. Higgins at 950. You have they're not in order here, but you could just see how heavily favored he is above a lot of those guys. Marvin Harrison down at 925. Garrett Wilson at 925. Tyreek Hill's at 980. So Davante Adams is expected to have just as good of a year. And then you look at the receiving touchdown lines. His 8.5 is a lot higher than most players. He's higher than almost all the non-Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson type players. So again, I think Vegas gives you a really, really solid look at like bumpers for what we're expecting for players. So Davante Adams, like this is a great comparison here. Davante Adams, Vegas line, 9.8, whatever it was, 975.5, 8.5 touchdowns. Travis Hunter's line is like 680 in terms of receiving yards. Obviously, that doesn't bake in like pure upside and what he could become over the second half, but Davante, I feel like him and McVay and Stafford, just that like veteran connection makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. And I think he's going to be a perfect fit to replace whatever Cooper Kupp ended up being by the end of last year so far. So we have gone hero running back. I think Achane is like the perfect player for that in full PPR. We have Malik, we have JSN, we have Davante Adams so far as our wide receiver 1, 2, and 3. And the starting lineup is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flexes. So we can continue to pepper the wide receiver position if we want, though I do know, based on experience in drafting, that there is a ton of value at the wide receiver position once we hit rounds 6 and 7. If I want to just kind of fade that position for now, like I like Godwin down here, I like Calvin Ridley down here a lot, Shakir in a PPR league, Jacoby Myers I think is a great pick, Stephon Diggs, Jawan Jennings. Like we can sit on wide receiver right now, pause until later on in the drafts if we wanted to go with a tight end, if we wanted to go with a running back, which is probably where I'm eyeing my next pick. Although there aren't a lot of great options for PPR. If Mixon falls to me, I would definitely consider him. I actually really like James Conner too. Sam Laporta. George Kittle falling to the 411 feels like phenomenal fucking value. Like Bowers 2-1, McBride 212, and then Kittle at the 411 is a movie. We have 10 rounds in this draft, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, we should have 11. Let me actually refresh this. All right, so we had a little run of wide receivers, which I love to see because I'm targeting running back here. So let's hope we get a little bit. I wanted Connor. All right. Give me Mixon then. Give me Mixon. Give me Mixstain. Mixon was so good to start the year last year. Legit top 5 fantasy running back. Then had the high ankle sprain. So I want to chalk up a lot of what we didn't see second half of the year to that. All right, beautiful. So Mixon as our RB2, that makes me feel good. I'm a little weary of the offensive line there in Houston, of course. I'm a little weary of the competition they added in that backfield with Trevor Etienne and Woody, not Trevor Etienne, sorry, with Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. But I think it's Mixon's backfield to completely dominate until he shows that he cannot do that anymore. So with him as my RB2, I mean, I'm feeling nicey right now. And just look at the value left at receiver. You know, like I don't love Xavier Worthy. Y'all know that. But 6th round, I could deal with that. Olave down here, even Waddle down here if we want to like bet on a Miami bounce back, which I'm not too fond of. But all right. So just to recap, after Davante Adams at the 4-4, it went Travis Hunter, Kamara, Cortland Sutton, Amarian Hampton, Joe Burrow, DJ Moore, George Kittle, Jameis Stain Williams, Bo Nix, Kenneth Walker, Sam Laporta, George Pickens, Zay Flowers, Devonta Smith, James Conner, TJ Hawkinson, Joe Mixon, Chuba Hubbard, DK Metcalf, Trayvon Henderson, Tet McMillan. All right, so he's going with like a Rob Willie D. He's going with like a dynasty type of strategy here. We went a lot of young players. He went like hero veteran, Nico, and then went Bowers, Marvin Harrison, Trayvon Henderson, Tet McMillan. Do we like any of the tight ends? Not necessarily. I'm gonna be honest too. This might be one of like the rare instances where I'd maybe take a shot on RJ Harvey, another guy I'm not in love with the talent, but the situation is phenomenal, and he's gonna be a big time pass catcher. So maybe we look there. I don't think there's a huge tier gap between most of these quarterbacks, so I'm not pulling the trigger yet. But I mean, like the wide receivers are juicy here, man. They be juicy. There goes Jordan Addison. Worthy, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm worried about Worthy just in terms of like when Rashee Rice is on the field, it's Rashee Rice's offense. It's his world, and the rest of them are just living in it. Harvey. All right, you know what? This will be my one share of RJ Harvey throughout the summer. And again, because like, what's the point of doing these drafts and understanding trends and stuff if we're not going to use them to our advantage? We'll grab RJ Harvey here. And again, I think by the time we get back on the clock, like I still think there's going to be great value at wide receiver. Like if I'm getting Jawan Jennings, Jaden Reed, Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney is my wide receiver 4 or 5, I still feel phenomenal about that team. So I think that's one of the bigger takeaways. I was doing my rankings for wide receivers this morning because we did a top 30 running back rankings video on Wednesday, 2 days ago. If you missed that, I'll put that in the show notes for you. And we're going to be doing the same thing for the wide receiver position. That video will come out Monday. And as I'm going through the rankings, legitimately, I like the top 50 fantasy wide receivers. And I'm not one of those people that's every year is like, oh, the wide receiver position is so deep. Like last year, I feel like once we got to like wide receiver 38, 40, I was kind of out. This year, we're 50 deep at wide receiver. We're 50 deep that I feel really comfortable with like the top 50 wide receivers. Of course, there are ebbs and flows. There are guys I like a little bit more, but like even down at like wide receiver 52, you're getting a dude like Michael Pittman, you know, like he's shown that he has 1,000-yard wide receiver upside. If he could stay healthy, like, you know, you don't love him. You don't want to start him, but in other years, you know, the wide receiver 50, come on now. Come on now. All right, we're seeing a big wide receiver run. Maybe I timed this poorly. What are y'all thinking about my team so far, though? 6 rounds in, we have Davante, Joe Mixon, Malik Neighbors, JSN, Davante Adams, and RJ Harvey. Yeah, I'm a fan. I am a fan. This is a different team than I would usually go with. Like there are some names, you know, this is one of the parts about fantasy football that you really got to like embrace is not every player is a fade. Not every player is someone that you're targeting or you want to buy immediately. A lot of guys are just like, okay, I don't have a strong opinion on. If they fall to me in the draft, I'm okay starting to pad my team with those guys. That is what Jackson Smith and Jigba is for me. That is what Joe Mixon is for me. That is, you know, kind of what RJ Harvey is for me. Now, I'm probably more on the fade side for RJ Harvey, but again, 6th round, full PPR. Like, I see the vision. I see the vision here. Sean Payton, pretty good at utilizing running backs, especially in the passing game. The offenses that he's run, always top 5 in target share to the running back position. And I wouldn't say Denver has a particularly strong receiving group either. You know, you got Cortland Sutton, who will get 25% of the targets, but then Evan Ingram, he's a check down merchant. And then you got Pat Bryant, you got Davante, you got some guys, you got some names that are like, but I think the running back position still gets a crazy amount of targets. So, you know, you just pick and choose, you ebb and flow. You've got like a handful of dudes that you really dislike that we're fading. Unless they drop like 2-3 rounds, we don't want them. You got a handful of dudes that you're like, all right, he's the guy I'm targeting in the 1st or 2nd round or whatever, you know, a round above ADP. And then the rest of them are just ebb and flow. You just kind of, you know, take the good with the bad, understand that your player evaluations are never going to be spot on for the entire season. So there's upside, there's downside, there's the good, the bad, there's fucking America, man. America. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, like I said, I think we're going to get a really, really solid combination of receivers here. And if we want to go tight end, you know, I'm off Travis Kelce. He's one that I'm putting the stamp on. Like he's not a guy that I'm taking as the tight end 6 or 7. He's a guy that's like tight end 10 to 12 for me. Jonnu Smith, the move to Pittsburgh, yeah, we're out on that for show. So this is a grouping of dudes where I'm like, I think I like David Njoku. I think I like Tucker Kraft. Those are guys that I am fine taking as my tight end 1 if I don't get an elite tight end. Running back, since we got our 3 with RJ Harvey, I don't feel the need to pull the trig on a dude like Pacheco, although he's interesting. Caleb Johnson's really interesting to me here. I will say, I think based on, again, the drafts that I've done, like round 7, 8, you can target wide receivers. But I think your running back room, yeah, again, like I've done enough drafts now, I think your running back room has to be pretty solidified by round 7 or 8. Like, I think I'll go on record there. I think that's kind of my stance based on what I've seen in drafts. If you're not solidified by like midway through round 7, you're going to have trouble because you're going to have to be putting, you know, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne's in your lineup, and that's not good. Obviously, like Tony Pollard down here, I think is a great value. Brian Robinson is a great value. Jaylen Warren will be good in full PPR for show. But outside of those guys, like you're risking it if you're going into round 7 being like, I still need a pretty decent amount of running back help. So I think hero running back's a cool strategy, but I do think you need your RB2 by like round 5. All right, so the wide receivers are coming up, and yeah, man, we have a great selection of dudes here that I still think are very, very good at the game of football. I don't have a huge difference in who I like here over, I'll say Chris Olave will star. Is this Q? This is Q, right? Yeah. Olave, I really like Juwan Jennings. Fan of Jaden Reed, but I think I like Josh Downs more. So those are like the 3 that if they're in my flex right away, they're my wide receiver 4, I'm going to feel pretty good out the gate. And I do like Diggs. I don't like Kupp. I think I'm actually, yeah, I'll take Olave here in round 7. 7-9's crazy. No. Take auto pick off. That's the reason I use the Q, you little hoe. Yeah, Tony Pollard down here is absolute steal. What's going on at QB? Yeah, Baker's still there. I wish I had some Tampa Bay exposure in this draft. I might go Baker and then look to target Emeka Ibuka as a late round upside pick. Yeah, man. So this kind of worked out exactly how I imagined it. I'm telling you, like round 6, 7, 8 are sweet spots for wide receiver, and they're where running backs kind of start to go to die. So you need to shore up your running back spot by round 5 or 6 to feel comfortable with where that position group is at. There goes Juwan. I wanted Juwan there. Do I even need to target Josh Downs here? I like him more than the other ones. I like Stephon Diggs a lot. I like Darnell Mooney a lot too. I feel like if I let Downs go, though, I'm not going to get him on the turn. Wow, Matt Golden, huh? Yeah, I'm going to take Downs here. Downs here. So that was round 8. This is the roster so far. Our starting running backs are Davante and Joe Mixon. Our starting receivers are Malik Neighbors, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Davante Adams. Our flex spots are RJ Harvey, Chris Olave, and Josh Downs. We have not drafted a QB or a tight end yet. I will say a lot of my strategy this year for quarterback will be if I can grab one of those top QBs in the first 3 rounds, I'm very happy to do so. Like Jaden, I could have taken at the 3-9 and felt really good about that position. I'm actually surprised I didn't. I think JSN kind of just jumped off the page to me in terms of him usually not falling that far, especially in a full PPR league. So I took him instead, but I'm super fine taking Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels in round 3. And I'm kind of at the point where if I don't get them, unless Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow falls to round 5, I'm typically going to just wait on the quarterback position. And I think what I want to look for, I've been targeting Brock Purdy pretty heavily as my QB1 in rounds like 10, 11. He falls there, and I like him just as much as any other quarterback left on the board. He's underrated in the rushing department. I think he had 6 rushing touchdowns last year. Really good weapons group. Obviously a great offensive system. San Francisco, dudded out last year, but they're as good at odds of having a major bounce back on offense as any team in the NFL. So, Ibuka went at the 8th round. Okay. A little earlier than I imagined. Who else can we throw in the queue? So we got Diggs I really like. Reed I like. Ricky P, I'll take shots on that too because I missed out on Jennings. Darnell Mooney we love. Talked about Pittman. He's an upside player. Trey Harris I think has a lot of upside. That's probably where my love for receivers falls out. I like Bateman. Also like Tillman a little bit too. Yep. How is Keenan Allen not signed with like how does Pittsburgh not go out and get Keenan Allen? How do they not need just like a reliable slot wide receiver? That's crazy to me. I don't think Keenan's like who Keenan was anymore, but you're telling me nobody wants his services? That's crazy to me. Like we're out here giving contracts to Gabe Davis again, but not Keenan. At some point, we just got to grow up. Any running backs? I do like Scatterbo, Jalen Warren. We don't have a tight end. Yeah, I mean, Johnny's fallen. I get it, though. I mean, you go to Pittsburgh, you're sharing snaps with Pat Freiermuth. Arthur Smith has kind of done wonders for Jonnu, but, like, he's never really been a week in and week out starter for fantasy outside of what he did in Miami last year. Like, his first big year was with Arthur Smith in Tennessee. He had, I believe, 8 receiving touchdowns, which is cool, but super hard to be predictable when you're not getting the targets on a weekly basis. Atlanta, he had a great run, but was also never like a comfortable spot where you can, project him for high target or reception totals. And Pittsburgh's not going to be a pass first offense. So, I mean, his value absolutely tanks after that trade, unfortunately. Darren Waller, though, we didn't even talk about him. Darren Waller goes to Miami. I think he'll have some spark throughout the year. Like, I think there'll be times where people will add him off the waiver wire or draft him late in their drafts with some hopes that he could still get it done. But I don't know. I don't know about all that shit. All right, hopefully Njoku falls to me here. Otherwise, I think we might be hurting at the tight end position. Drew Bachman does not have a tight end. Fuck. I knew that was going to happen. I fucking knew it. I knew it. All right. Well, at this point, we're waiting on tight end. That'll be our last round pick. I'm going to go with another receiver here, I think. We'll try to go Darnell Mooney, and then we'll try to go Brock Purdy. Bang, bang. Try to go Brock Purdstein. But listen, I mean, you can go Goff. I think he's got a great floor. If you've picked Detroit Detroit weapons up to this point, that's a good stack. If you like Kyler and his rushing upside, go for it. Herbert, if you think they're going to take a big step forward, although I don't think the passing volume is going to be there. Caleb. If you got some Chicago players, there's certainly upside with Ben Johnson there now. Jordan Love you can go with. I think there's a lot of good quarterback upside here. Drake May, but Brock Purdy for me feels like a clear, like I like that dude. I like that dude as my one. So we're going to go with Brock as long as he falls to me, which those two teams both have QBs. Cena does not have a QB yet, though, so we'll see what he does. Although he has Amon-Ra St. Brown, so I'd imagine he probably goes in the direction of Detroit to give himself that stack. Skirt. Little running back run there. Jalen Warren, Tajay Spears, Zach Charbonnet. I think Tajay could have some juice there. Interesting, that team actually took Pollard and Tajay Spears. I really do think they went into last year imagining that it was a 1A, 1B, and then Tajay got hurt, so it had to be Tony Pollard the entire year, and he played well enough that, like, why would they move off of him? So, all right. No Brock. No Brock and Stain. Don't do it to me. Make your fucking pick, my guy. All right, we get Brocky. And Brock's another one. Like, if we look at the MGM stats here. Nope, not Brock, that Brock. How many Brocks we got in the league? That's like a interesting name to have a lot of them. 3,850. That's about, again, as high as any non-Joe Burrow quarterback. I think that is. I think Brock Purdy's 3,850 passing yard line is tied with Jared Goff, and it is higher than every other quarterback except for Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Yep. And what's interesting, I keep telling y'all, J.J. McCarthy, sleeper of the cinch, 3,750, one of the highest lines in the NFL. Passing touchdowns, this is where Purdy really like kind of separates himself from a lot of those other yardage guys. I lied, 24.5, but that's fine. If he throws for 25 to 28 passing touchdowns, he's going to look good. He's going to be good. And I think, again, he's a little bit lower than Goff in the passing touchdown department, but Purdy is a liability for defenses in the rushing department. Like I said, last year, he ran for 5 rushing touchdowns and 323 rushing yards. So he does add that on any given week in any given season, which is, nice compared to a guy like Jared Goff. So, again, love me some Purdstein. And then we have to grab a tight end with our last pick. Again, we'll kind of just see how this plays out. Let's see. Yeah, Jonnu's like, he's like a low end tight end too at this point in fantasy. Kincaid, I just don't think Buffalo has shown us anything that tells us that they're planning on like running any part of that passing game through him. Dawson Knox actually outsnapped Dalton Kincaid on a week-to-week basis last year. Dawson Knox averaged 36 snaps per game. Dalton Kincaid 34. So that's a problem. Dawson Knox is still there. Keon Coleman's still there. Shakira's still there. They just like Kincaid has just shown nothing to see that he's going to run or he's going to be someone that they run the offense through. So Kincaid's just not that enticing to me. I don't hate Jake Ferguson. Like I think this Dallas offense is going to have to throw a lot. In Vegas, they are a 7.5 win total team. And I think their defense is really overrated. I think their ground game is going to be bad with Javonte Williams as the starter there. So I think the only thing that they're going to be really, really enticing for is just their passing offense. Like Dak Prescott's going to have to throw the ball 600 plus times. It's all going to be CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Jake Ferguson. So if Jake gets a little bit of touchdown luck, I could see him having a good year. Goddard, the low volume passing offense in Philly scares me a little bit. Kyle Pitts, I literally would rather draft fucking someone like Josh Bist, whatever the fuck that guy's name is. Yeah, Pat Fryermuth is tanked now that Johnny Smith is there. I don't hate Isaiah Likely, but you can't really count on him as a starter. Dude, Zach Ertz and Hunter Henry, like these two vets, super underrated. Same thing with Brenton Strange. Don't hate Mike Gesicki. Similar setup to Dallas, where they're just going to have to pass the ball a million times, but even more voluminous. So tight end, yeah, I mean, you could take your shots on any of these guys. I think, dude, like Zach Ertz really was in a relatively high volume role last year. Like he was kind of good, man. Hunter Henry, I do think with Drake May taking a step into the second year, he was a guy who got a decent amount of targets last year and was relatively involved in the offense. Like, look at these target numbers. Like, of course, he's going to have some dud games of like four or three targets, but 9, 6, 8, 9, 8, 9, 8. Like, those are serious target numbers for a tight end, especially in full PPR. Like, you could do a lot worse than that. What would you guys do here at the end of the run here? Who are you taking at tight end in this tier? Who are we taking at tight end? Whatever. Let's just take Kincaid and get it over with. I gotta be honest, I'm tired today. I went to the Comedy Cellar last night, which is like the best comedy place in New York City, which means it's like one of the best in the world. It's like a damn random Wednesday night. They give you the lineups beforehand, like when you book the tickets, and it was like a pretty unappetizing lineup, but like everyone that goes on there is like super funny, really good. They all have experience at SNL, Conan, stand up this, HBO that. But last night, the third dude to come out was Sam Morril. If you guys are like on social media at all, you know who Sam Morril is. He's funny as fuck. And then they ended the night with Louis C.K. coming on stage. So that was fucking cool as hell. Louis C.K. is probably like, he's an all-time GOAT in the comedy scene and probably my personal favorite of all time. Like his earlier stand-ups on YouTube are literally put me in tears. So to see him come out, they just do it randomly. Anytime those kind of guys want to pop up in the show, they just come here and then, no one, you never know what like you're in for with those, with the stand-up comedians. They give you the lineup and then they always have like really, really high-level celebrities just pop up on a fucking Wednesday at 7 p.m. So that was super fun. All to say, it was a kind of a late night, so I'm actually super fucking tired right now because of it. But we powered through and we took Dalton Kincaid. That was like where my brain started to go to mush. If you see me drafting Dalton Kincaid at any point this offseason, I did something the night before. Case in point. So here's the final roster. Let me know how you guys feel about this one. We got Brock at quarterback. We got Devon Achane and Joe Mixon at our running back position. Wide receiver position, we got Malik, JSN, Davante Adams, Dalton Kincaid at tight end. Our flex spots will be a rotation of RJ Harvey, Chris Olave, Josh Downs, and Darnell Mooney. I really like that combination because I don't feel the need to, I wouldn't feel the need to start RJ Harvey off the rip. Like I think Darnell Mooney and Chris Olave will both give you really solid PPR floors out the gate. And then if something happens where one of them falls off or one of them gets injured, then I think by that time, like a month in, RJ Harvey probably has a more solidified role. And I think with Josh Downs too, we'll kind of clear up what's going on in Indianapolis between quarterbacks and wide receivers pretty early on as well. Here is the full draft board if you want to take a look at it. The last pick was Xavier Legette, He, Justin Fields. Yeah, let me know how you're feeling about this team right here, this squadron. I know you all guys hate every fucking team I draft in these mock drafts, but I don't give a shit. I never ever cared. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for hanging out with me on July 4th. Go enjoy your fireworks. Go enjoy your fucking Budweisers. And don't shoot your fucking fingers off, please. All right. If you enjoyed the video, hit the button that looks like this. If you want to check out every other video that we will be posting throughout the rest of the summer, make sure you do so by subscribing. The running back rankings video went up Wednesday, so that's already live. The wide receiver version will be going up on Monday, so that will be coming live. All right? Go subscribe. I love you. I'm out of here. Smoochies.